screaming from your soul. We watch it fall. Now you clouds are all gone. Come and set your light through. Just set your light through before we're only whispers in the wind. You can turn my world upside down, a rush like I've not felt before. I can trust myself. I need you to make it turn. I know. Will you follow me when the sky starts to change? Yeah, we won't be afraid. We'll never be the same again. Will you follow me? We won't leave it to chance. We can't wait on romance. We'll never be the same again. I could keep the light from turning into darkness. You'd be my escape. What have we been told? Is it true or false? Future might seem average, but we're getting close. Will you follow me when the sky starts to change? Yeah, we won't be afraid. We'll never be the same again. Will you follow me? We won't leave it to chance. We can't wait on romance. We'll never be the same again. Will you follow me when the sky starts to change? Yeah, we won't be afraid. We'll never be the same again. Will you follow me when the sky starts to change? Yeah, we won't be afraid. We'll never
Welcome to the Stampede. My name, like Paul Heyman always says, is Legend D Vash, and I return to give you the rundown of the night. We're on season 2 of Weebs of the Ring, and we return to a SmackDown with a 3-hour snooze. How did everyone feel about this? Let us know in the comment section below, because what happened compared to last week? Great opening of the year, but then a slow-paced SmackDown. What happened compared to last week? Let's discuss the difference, because it felt like a two different types of show or writers. What was it? However, our main story was interesting. Paul Heyman told us that Roman Reigns is coming back for his title from Cody Rhodes, but Solo wasn't here tonight, but got treated as a big deal with the graphic and everything that he returns next week. Plus, is Cody Sammy Uso's cousin? Because he's dealing with a lot of the Bloodline storylines. So there's questions there. What's happening? But if you wonder what is the rest of our rundown, Cody sees KO anytime in his hand clock. It's Tiffy time, baby, but then leads into a fatal four-way for the number one contender of the Tiffy title set next week, but not for the Saturday night main event? Question mark. What's being set up for that time? A great match between Shinsuke Nakamura versus LA Knight, and the Bloodline intervene once again. LA Knight kicks Jacob Fatu outside the building. In a woman mid-card title rematch between Chelsea Green and Michin. Where does B-Fat fit into all this? Is she gonna get herself involved for the mid-card title? Question mark. But then to end the show is a tag team drama with the two matches to figure out who's the next opponent of DIY. So let's get ready to start the show. Wrestle for the Weebs of the Ring, episode 103.
With anime in our souls and thoughts of wrestling out of control, we are a group of weebs who love the entertainment of professional wrestling. So allow us to be the voices inside of your head as we go through the wrestling events of the evening, give our thoughts and predictions on what's to come, and provide an experience inclusive to all you nerds out there. So grab your steel chair, yell for the table, get put through an experience unlike any other. Brought to you by AniMA W3 Studio. This is the Weebs of the Ring podcast. Welcome, salutations, and good evening, everyone. Hopefully you guys are able to wake up after the somewhat snooze fest that we had for the past 3 hours. I'm not gonna hold back a little bit. SmackDown was kind of boring tonight. And it sounds like I'm not the only one who felt that way. But as always, I am, of course, your world champion Watkins here. Kind of give you the SmackDown, lowdown, throwdown on this lovely Friday night, now turning into Saturday morning. And of course, I am never alone in these endeavors. As always, I am joined by two lovely gentlemen. First, on my right shoulder, we have the angel to my, consciousness and all that, the visionary, the legend himself. We got Vash up here. Vash, how you doing?
The visionary Legend Evangelist here, and I highly suggest if you're a big fan of the visionary Seth freaking Rollins, go check out the interview that he did with Chris Van Vliet, because it's pretty good. I got to know more of the introspective of the character of Seth freaking Rollins and what he came to be. It was the last person that he spoke to in 10 years, so it was an interesting conversation of his career. So I highly suggest for anybody that is a fan like him, like me, go check it out. So it's great to have everyone here. Good evening, good morning, wherever you listen to, and continue sharing this to everyone. Even like he says in the intro, no stunt grannies was hurt tonight.
Nope. Well, they might have fallen asleep. So hopefully they were at least in bed and they didn't fall out of their chairs and break their hips and all that. So maybe they had their life alert system on them. So at least they were fine. Got to the hospital, and even though if they fallen they couldn't get up, they at least were able to get fixed up. And of course, we have, as always, the man who can help us process some of these things going on. Maybe help us, maybe ease the pain or ease our slumber from tonight. We've got the genius of the mat himself. Drop this box. Drop, how you doing tonight?
Um, I managed to get through this 3-hour SmackDown. I mean, I had a feeling going into this. There was like a good and a bad to it. Good, you can give talent more time. Bad was the overall structure I was worried about, and I feel like we definitely got something like that tonight.
Oh yes. Hey, for everybody, remember that time when some of us on this very show actually were just like, man, I feel very worried about having a 3-hour SmackDown because of 3-hour Raws being sometimes horribly paced, sometimes feeling like a slog, which is crazy because like last week we had a very good paced SmackDown, went by pretty quick, everything was like, it was fun to watch and all that. Get to this week and it's just like, okay, what are we doing in a lot of these segments? Like there are some good matches, some good action, but overall everything just felt very paint by numbers and all that. But we'll get into that here in a little bit. But before we get, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna ask a question to the audience in the chat.
Yeah.
Do you guys think is USA the network? Do you think is what they want and what they want to show as the product, or do you think it's the writers at fault? Because we cannot always give the blame, to Triple H or it's a creative. It also has to be part of domino effect, of down the ladder. Is it the higher people above of what they're trying to produce the product of, or is it the writers that are not getting the right storylines or the right transitions from story beat to the next segment? Because I feel like that's where it falls flat as well.
I think it's mainly trying to keep your product engaging throughout the weeks. Because here's the thing, and I've said this before too. It's like it feels like with weekly products sometimes they just do a lot of stuff to kind of build and put content ready for like video packages and all that. And it's just like, okay, that's fine, that's fair and all that. But like, so like when you get to the big shows, like for example, when we get to Saturday Night Main Event, or even when we get to the Royal Rumble, we're gonna have some great video packages to watch before the matches. But then, and I've gone on record saying, you know what? Oh, the weeks have been worth it. Watching the Judgment Day constantly beat down Rhea and Damian Priest for the video packages. Brr, brr, brr. But then, like, you take into perspective, the whole weekly discussion of it, and it's like you don't have much to say on a lot of things because it's a lot of the same thing, or it's just, again, it's paint by numbers, cookie cutter almost, with how they structure a lot of matches. Like, I mean, I look at the tag matches, for example. I mean, we got what, like 3 tag matches tonight, and they were all basically the same.
Pretty much.
I mean, yeah, different moves, obviously, but like the overall structure of their tag matches are basically the same, and it just, you kind of get tired of that a little bit. You kind of want a little bit more, something that'll like get you more engaged in the product. But I could be alone on that little island there. I don't know, but I guess I'll transition to you, drop with that question. Vash, if you wanted to repeat it too, like, because I kind of went on a little bit of a tangent with that.
So the question was, when it comes to the difference of last week pacing, the good storylines, Tiffany cashing in, the 3 hour of their first show was very stellar compared to what we were expecting. Now coming back to the following week, it was more slower paced. The transitions felt less engaging for us to be detained for a 3 hour show product. So would you say, do you blame the USA Network? Do you blame what they're trying to give the product us to, or the writers of what they're kind of failing to succeed in the expectation of the audience?
I honestly feel like it could be a mixture of both when it comes to creative and the network, because like we saw on Monday, just looking back on Monday itself, it was more of a introduction to Raw on Netflix, so I get the whole gist of how people are on and off of how they felt. But the reason why I bring that up is because they're on a streaming service now, so they have as much flexibility as they want, so they don't have to worry about the network wants you off at 11 o'clock, and once you hit that mark, you're done. So that's why I'm saying it could be part of the network at USA, because they have a start and end time, so once it hits 11, they gotta, like, kick it off the air, so they gotta do everything they possibly can within those 3 hours. And also when it comes to creative as well, that also takes a part of it as well. That's why whenever people, criticize WWE, whenever like there's stuff out there that people want to say, sometimes people label what they're criticizing. Sometimes they say the wrestler itself, but you gotta look beyond that. It's not the wrestler, it's the people that are in charge of the stories, because you gotta think at the end of the day, just like how we are, we go to work, we do our jobs because we're just doing what we're told. That's pretty much what they're doing there. They have a certain script that they have to follow. They got to make sure everything aligns together. So that's like another thing that definitely comes into it as well, because you can definitely tell when it came to certain people that we focused on this show tonight, there was certain thought put into that. But then there was not so much on like another talent, if that makes any sense. Like, for example, we'll dive into it later. I'll just bring it up. Just for example, the stuff with Tiffany. Okay, we got a little setup there. We know who her first opponent is. We'll dive into that. We'll talk about it later. But hypothetically, there's like something random happening and like a backstage segment that leads to nowhere. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. It's like sometimes it's all over the place with one person, but then the people that they want to put the attention to, that they know the audience give a shit about, they put all the love in the world towards that, which it sucks when it comes down to that sometimes, but you know, that's just how creative is sometimes. Like, not everything's going to be a perfect show. Like, it's hard to really say, oh yeah, that's perfect. Like, there's no such thing as, well, I maybe, but for the most part, there's no such thing as a perfect show. There's always going to be goods, bads in between, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, those are my thoughts on that.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing, like you said, some shows are going to be stronger than others. Like that, not everyone has to be a banger. We get that, we understand that, but it's like we're going to have a 3-hour product until June on Fridays. Like, you kind of got to be more engaging. You got to keep your audience and all. Like, just looking at online discourse for everything, there were a lot of people just in the first hour saying, all right, I'm turning this off. I'm turning this off.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know a lot of those complaints had to do with like ad breaks and all that, like especially for international fans. Because like, so apparently SmackDown is on Netflix internationally. Like, they have all of WWE, whatever was on the WWE network is on Netflix internationally. So they watch SmackDown live internationally. And instead of getting ads during the ad breaks, they were getting these weird like almost movements of wrestlers and all that. So like they would have like Jimmy Uso being like, "Oh yeah, look at me in the camera," or they'd have Tiffany Stratton like at the camera being like, "Tiffy time," like shit like that. So it's just like,
okay. So it was a Netflix promotion that they posted for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, you're, and I guess it felt very frequent. And when I started seeing those tweets, I started thinking about this. Just in the first hour alone, they had 4 different ad breaks. And when you look at what they had in the first hour, they had the video package from what happened from Raw and Netflix. They had the Cody Bloodline Paul Heyman segment, and they had, I think, they had the U.S. title, the women's U.S. title match, and then they were starting the men's U.S. title match, and I believe the tag match too. Like the Los Garzos one was in there too, I think.
Yes.
Unless,
Right.
Yes, yeah. So like you had 5 segments, and in between each of those, was an ad break. But all of that was like in the first hour. So it's like you throw all this stuff in the first hour, and like that's all of your show. That was, and when you look at it too, that's all that they had promoted before the show. Like the only thing that came on afterwards that they had actually promoted before the show was the Tiffany Stratton thing. Everything else, like the 2 title matches, came on during the first hour. So it's like, okay, like aren't you supposed to be building up your show to your main event, especially with the live crowd? Like, I mean, this might just seem a little bit, more complainy and nitpicky and all that, but it's like, I don't know, man. Yeah,
I feel like what could definitely help is this whole transfer portal thing, because we don't really know what the fuck's going on with this shit, because it's like we see people hopping in there every so often during a segment. We recently saw it with Bailey on Monday when she was talking to Adam Pearce, so it just gets me really curious to see like how things are gonna go with that. Like, is that match that she had with Tiffany her swan song on SmackDown, and then she's officially going to be on Raw the following week? It's like you got to think about it like that, because it's like that's something that would definitely help, because you would at least switch up the rosters. You'd have fresh faces for people to go up against, and even if there's still people that are on the same brand, at least they have new people. You don't have to like you don't have to have fucking randomly take Cody Rhodes. Well, not Cody Rhodes. Let's see, better example. Like, you don't have to like randomly put Naomi on Raw or whatever, and then bring some random person up from like NXT or whatever. Obviously, have it make sense, but transfer portal will definitely help. I feel like definitely when it comes to the Royal Rumble, we get a lot of returns and everything like that, so that's definitely going to help.
Hmm.
Alexa Bliss is said to be coming back soon. Charlotte, Becky,
Thank God.
Jordan Grace is going to be a free agent
Thank God.
on January 19th. So this TNA pay-per-view that's coming up next Saturday, that's pretty much her last showing in TNA. So she would be a good addition to the main roster. I don't really see her going to NXT. And obviously, we have Malachi Black. He's said to be a free agent in February and March, so that would definitely help. Triple H is very high on him, if you guys remember him in the Black and Gold days. Also, recently, what we saw on Tuesday when me and Vash were reacting to NXT, we saw Roxanne lost her title, Trick lost his title, so they could be other people coming up from NXT to the main roster. So all of these new people coming from NXT and doing a little transfer window and stuff, that'll definitely help, because I did notice a lot of people brought that up when it came to when it came to what they said about like the 3-hour shows and stuff. It's like, if you put focus on the transfer window and those NXT call-ups, as long as they make sense, of course, don't just throw somebody up there just for the hell of it, then that could definitely help balance out the show, because you could be watching SmackDown like, holy shit, Trick's on SmackDown, or you're watching, oh, holy shit, Roxanne's on Raw. What, she just had an encounter at Rhea. We're planting seeds for the future, just getting something for people to talk about. Like, that's something that can definitely help these like 3-hour shows for sure, because I know for a fact if I saw a couple people that weren't from the same show, or people coming from other companies to a SmackDown and Raw, I mean, I would be very interested to see what happens with them within all of these shows throughout the week.
Like, just something to kind of hook us, like even if it's just one thing. Like, for example, last week's main thing was Tiffany Stratton cashing in. Like, not much else happened on the show. It
that was
mainly
the highlight.
just Tiffany. Yeah, it was literally it was our highlight story of the night last week.
It was.
Yeah, she's even on our thumbnail
and
tonight.
it's just like, yeah, exactly. And I mean, I know she's not the headline tonight. That whole segment almost was, though. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I almost was gonna throw that in there, but I was like, nah. Bloodline kind of ran the show, which brings me to my other thing. And don't worry, everybody. We'll get into the show here in a little bit. It's just like,
makes sense.
We got to have this conversation about these 3-hour shows.
We do. That's why I brought it up. It's a good point.
Yeah.
I also feel like it's nice for us to talk like this before we dive into everything, because at least people get, okay, what is their initial thoughts coming out of the show before they talk about the actual show itself, because then it gets people talking in the chat, and then you could hear other people's perspective if they see the exact same things as we do. So it's really good that we decided to start with that.
Yeah, because like this was my issue that we had like way back when we had 3-hour Raws. Because like it would always be like, okay, we would have a main through line through the show. It's like, okay, Judgment Day are in X amount of segments. They're in like 5 segments throughout the night. Okay, and it's like, all right, that's fine. You're trying to do like a story. You're trying to weave a story throughout the night. Cool, neat, awesome. But here's the issue with that. You have a deep pool of talent. You have awesome talent. You have some decent talent. You have some talent that could use TV time to get better, to like hone their craft and do what they can do in order to not only make themselves better, but perhaps make your product even better. But, because you're doing these, through lines with everything, we got to have, Judgment Day on almost every segment. We got to have Bloodline involved with everything now. And it's like, instead of having some of these Bloodline segments, why not have, okay, here's a good example. What are we doing with Apollo Crews? What the hell is he up to?
Yeah.
All he's doing is hanging out and catering and being a tattletale. That's his gimmick right now. That's his thing. That's his stick. Why isn't he wrestling? Why isn't he doing anything? What happened to that thing he was doing with, I don't know, Giovanni Vinci months ago? Like, we couldn't follow up on that.
No.
We couldn't do more with that. Again, Giovanni Vinci's also on there. And I thought this too. I think it was Wade Barrett said this on commentary. This was before we got like the Fatal 4-Way #1 contenders match.
Yeah.
He literally said, "This is basically the whole women's locker room out here," and it's like, you're
Yep.
saying your whole women's locker room is out here, and yet there's only 4 of them?
Yeah.
There's there's at least double, if not triple, that
Yeah.
amount of women superstars that you have. You know, what happened to those reports that, oh, Blair Davenport's going to be used more often? Where the fuck's she been at? You know, I know it's only been 2 weeks. I get
And
that, but at the same
that's
time,
why,
it's like it's been
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
and that's why I said in my Stampede as well. Like, where does BFABs fit into this? Because she was there with Nick. When Nick out, I'm like, cool, that's nice. She's having a 2-minute, 3-minute type of TV segment, but then gets interrupted by Chelsea Green. But then they have a match with Michin, so that
that's
means is
another thing.
BFAB gonna be going for her? I started on the main event. Is that gonna be a match with BFAB? Because if that is, that's an awesome push for BFAB. But is it going to be match worthy for a PoE type of small event like this? So it brings to the question, like, if this 3-hour show is to put more time to our superstars, don't give it to the superstars that's been having time. Give it to the other ones to build it. Like, Apollo is not saying a fan favorite, but Apollo is a favorite among the fans. So at least put him with a story that's not just him about snitching. I'm like, bro, if I want to see snitching, I could watch a high school drama, or I could watch anime or something. I don't need to see a dude just like, yo, you better watch out who you trying to get involved with. If not, I'm gonna come for you. Like, bro, smack them now. Don't wait for next week. Smack them now. Start problems now. Swing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
That's why I'm like starting to have a feeling that that's why I said like earlier, like off air, like I feel like, well, I will say the show of the week was definitely NXT for me. Like, Sean definitely felt like he wanted to reset for NXT to start off 2025. He has Julia and Obafemi. Holy shit, go back and watch me and Vash's reaction to that. But you could definitely tell that he's setting some stuff up for his show in the future. So that was like definitely the show that really stood out for me throughout the week. But that's why I'm starting to think, the reason why I brought that up, that's why I'm starting to think, like, are things gonna really start taking off during the Royal Rumble once all these big names come back, like I mentioned earlier? Because if you think about it, that might actually be the case. And I hate to say we gotta wait until February 1st, but it's like having Becky, Charlotte, I forgot to mention Asuka earlier, all of these other names back. I mean, that's definitely gonna add a lot to the divisions that they're a part of to really make these shows like a lot more interesting. And I mean, as we like discuss the show, I mean, there's just like a lot of things, like outside of the stuff that normally gets focused, the stuff that should have more structure to. I mean, that's just like another thing. Like when I talk about the U.S. title picture for the woman and the U.S. title picture for the men, I mean, I don't
We
know,
haven't
like,
changed in a month. We haven't
No.
changed in 2 months for those pictures. Like,
no. There's just
like, what
a
are we
lot of
doing?
things.
What are we doing?
I'm
Oh my
actually
gosh.
starting to think like maybe Royal Rumbles when it starts taking off, because if you think about it, February is going to be a hot month, like I mentioned, all these people coming back, free agents.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention Josh Alexander from TNA has a contract that didn't end in that month. So I don't know, man. I mean, they definitely this transfer window thing should have been done on that Netflix Raw.
Yeah.
And we should have saw the other result of it on this SmackDown. I don't know what's taking so long, because you think, okay, we got that whole Netflix thing figured out. You thought they would have thrown that on the Monday show. They would have thrown it on the Friday show. Like, they definitely need like these new people here, because you're not going to be able to keep this 3-hour show with SmackDown for so long. Raw, we tolerated it because we dealt with it for so many years. The Triple H actually had a
Yeah.
proper structure with it after a while, but I don't know, man. Just think things
Well,
are
that's
all
the
over the
thing.
place.
He moved that structure now to SmackDown.
Yeah,
Like that's just the thing. And like
I can definitely understand why he
it'll
doesn't want to have it going on forever, because when it was brought up, it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's going back to 2 hours soon. It's like, okay, yeah, it seems like
I
you're
was so
starting to
happy.
get. Yeah, he's starting. He probably it definitely has to be a network because he probably
It
had a
has
certain
to.
structure in his head, but obviously, if all these
Yeah.
changes are going around, it could have been something the network asked for.
And I'm sorry, I know we're still on this subject, but I
Yeah.
gotta ask. I gotta ask this too. Where the fuck has Gunther been? And what the fuck are we doing with the world title?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that he's probably on vacation.
You know, well, okay.
It's just bad timing if he is.
This kind of helps transition into this headline story with the Bloodline stuff
Yeah.
because they have been patting Cody's back so much. They have been like
Yeah.
feeding his ego for the past week. Which, I mean, don't get me wrong. What Cody's been doing with the company has been great. It's been awesome. He's been the flag bearer. He's been, putting the company on his back, being like the poster boy and all that, which, yes, you should be as the WWE champion.
Mhm.
However, we have a world champion as well. Okay, great. We want to have 2 world titles. Fine, whatever. They have to be on equal footing. And first of all, you didn't even have your world title on your Netflix premiere.
No.
You had Cody on there, who is still going to be on SmackDown, it looks like, being the WWE champion. So it's like he's not even going to be on Raw, and you have The Rock out there,
Oh, boy.
again, like, feeding his ego. Where's Gunther?
Not
Okay, we
once,
get a
but
video
twice.
package for him.
2 days in a row.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it's just like I'm sitting here wondering, okay, what is your world champion going to be? Like, he's going to show up on Monday, and he's just like, oh yes, I'm Gunther, I'm the world champion, and like you already got your new viewers, and they're expecting Cody. They are expecting Cody. They're expecting Roman. They're expecting all these big names now that were on that premiere to be on the next episode, and they're not going to be on there. Now Gunther's here, yeah, you got a video package for him again, but it's like, you really should have had him in a match last week, defending his title on Raw, or I guess this past week, like, introduce your world champion for your show, the man who's supposed to be the top of your card, the top of your show, have him be on there and show why he's on top.
Yep.
Not just in a video package. Have him show you. Don't tell us how great you are. Show us how great you are. And that's just something that I've been noticing it a lot lately. They're doing a lot of telling and not enough of showing.
Yeah.
But, and I mean, I'm using this as a transition to our headline story because we were expecting some more fallout for the Bloodline, for Solo, who lost to Roman on Monday. We were all expecting it. Every single fan was expecting, okay, we're going to see Solo tonight. We're going to get some sort of, forward momentum to see what he's going to be doing. He's not even on SmackDown tonight. He'll be here next week though. So it's like, okay, maybe we're cooking something with it. Again, I'm one of the people that's always touted, oh, let's wait and see what happens. Let's, wait and see. So it's like, okay, we're cooking something with Solo. Fine, because hey, we have Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu on here doing their thing. So it's like, okay, are they doing this for Solo, or are they going like on their own and all that? But like, we started the night itself with Paul Heyman, who just comes out to address the island of relevancy and basically says, hey, I have something to tell Cody. So Cody walks out with his suit and his title, all that cool stuff. And Paul says, hey, you've earned the respect of Roman, which is apparently something really hard to do, which I'm not going to lie. I think Paul saying that gave Roman a little bit of good points, I guess, a little bit of the face points and all that to make him be like, okay, I am turning face and all that. So it's like, okay, you know what? Roman actually respecting somebody, respect on that, Roman. So like, basically this whole thing with Paul was just to say, hey, Roman's entering the Royal Rumble. Huge, because he hasn't been in a Rumble since when? 2019?
Yeah, it's been around like 5 years or so.
The pop is going to be huge, by the way.
Oh my God, yes. Like, honestly,
just the
he might be number 30.
Just the competitors themselves. And I mean, you got Cena in there, Punk, Roman. A lot of other people are going to get thrown in there too.
Well, the other thing too, he's going to be surrounded by people that he's like fucked over
More than likely,
over the
they'll team
past
up
like
on
4
him, yeah.
years.
Probably team up on him.
Yeah. So he's walking into enemy territory.
Oh yeah.
But this all leads to KO coming out and basically saying, "Hey, you're proving me right." And then him and Cody have a fight. I want to start with, I guess, just that segment. What are your thoughts on Roman entering the Royal Rumble, and I guess Kevin coming out and basically saying, "Hey, um, why are you still being nice to Roman? Why are you still trying to big him up and all that?" So, like,
Well,
I want to hear y'all's thoughts on all of this.
All right.
if
At
I may
least this
start
part of
first,
it.
it was
No.
pretty. Oh, damn, sorry. All right, Nick, it's your turn. So, look, I love that Paul Heyman was saying, "Hey, Roman still wants to go back for your title. I give he respects to you. He doesn't give a lot of respect to people who see eye to a lot of people. And you right now, you got that. We respect you. You work hard for you. You work hard for the company. Flowers was paid." But then Paul was serious. They're like, "Hey, but Roman didn't lose eye for the prize. That's his title. He's gonna come back for it." And I'm really happy that he announced for the Royal Rumble. It makes it more, difficult. Who's gonna win? CM Punk, John Cena, if The Rock pops in, or any of these things are unpredictable. So we have a lot of varieties. And like Watkins and Drop brought up earlier, that it's been since 2019, 2018 that Roman's been in a Royal Rumble. So it's been so long. Huge pop is going to be. He's been the tribal chief for so long. He hasn't had a chance to join the Royal Rumble or the Elimination Chamber in so long. So now it's very interesting to see how that pop will be for Roman when that time comes. And I'm okay with this because it gives it more unpredictable for the Royal Rumble. Now, would it be like, hey, what happened if he wins? The first time, because last time he won, he got a booed with The Rock also coming out. So it's pretty interesting if that happens now, the reverse, where he gets praised if he gets this win. But right now, everyone's putting their coins in the pockets to John Cena. So it's really cool to see that
I'm not.
KO coming out. It was pretty predictable in that part. I just didn't expect Cody to actually get so impatient and mad to actually be like, "Yo, I'm not looking at him, but I hear him. I'm gonna get the fuck out of this ring and give the hand to him." So that's pretty funny. That he did that. Like, yo, really? You couldn't have just patience, stay in the ring, and you left your whole title in the ring by itself, just getting stomp on or getting, stomp on. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did say it was going to be on site. So
Yeah, he did. He
Yeah.
did say that.
Yeah. So, giving my thoughts on that, just to add to that Cody part, I actually think the exact opposite of that. I actually like how he took that approach because normally what you said is what Cody normally does. So it's nice for him to actually have the balls to go out there, go after KO and kick his ass because, like he said, whenever he sees KO, it's on sight. Just like how we saw on Monday when he saw KO, he didn't hesitate at all in the slightest. He went out there, kicked his ass, gave him a Cody color. They fought in the crowd and everything like that. So I like this whole new approach that Cody has, where he's a little edgy sometimes when it comes to how he approaches situations. And when it comes to the whole thing with Paul Heyman announcing Roman Reigns to be part of the Royal Rumble, I mean, yeah, that's a really big moment because you got to look at the people that are involved in that match as it is. And I'm actually going to bring it up because we do know who announced to be in there. Hopefully, you don't do this of all of them because I want that whole shock factor for some people. But we have LA Knight's a part of it. This is going to be his first Rumble he's a part of. Got John Cena being announced for it. CM Punk and Jey Uso said they were going to be a part of the Royal Rumble on Monday. And then Roman Reigns obviously said tonight that he's going to be part of the Rumble as well. So that's a lot of big names to throw in there. And the thing that I like the most about this is the stories that are being told within this. Like Roman Reigns, now that he has the Ulafala back, he wants to reclaim his crown. He wants to get the WWE Championship again. With CM Punk, he wants to main event WrestleMania. With John Cena, it's his retirement year. He wants to get that number 17. So even though not all of those stories may come true, there's a story for them going into the Royal Rumble that they want to achieve. That's something I actually liked about last year's Royal Rumble as well, is that there was a lot of stories being told within that
Mhm.
Rumble, where you thought it would have been Cody, you thought it would have been CM Punk, you thought it would have been Drew, because Drew wanting to get that moment in front of a live crowd. CM Punk, same thing that he's going to do this year. And then Cody going back against Roman again and actually getting his revenge and winning the big one like he did, and rightfully so. That was the right decision. So it's like, I like how there's a lot of things thrown in here. I obviously do not expect us to get Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble and going after Cody, because it really doesn't make sense in the slightest to do that again, especially at a WrestleMania. You want to do that later point, some other pay-per-view or whatever, that's fine. WrestleMania, I wouldn't say that's the right decision to do that, because it made sense for the 2 years, 3 years. No, that's a little too much, but it just adds that whole thing of like unpredictability. Even with LA Knight, there's not really much story of him going in there, but it's also something that you could just think of on your own and be like, okay, if LA Knight enters the Rumble, maybe this leads him to a path that a lot of people want to see him on. A lot of people, including me and myself, can see LA Knight potentially winning a world title, like probably like the World's Heavyweight Championship down the line. A lot of people look at him as a potential contender to do something like that. So it's like there's a lot of things going in here. Jey Uso as well. A lot of people saw the rise of Jey Uso last year. A lot of people think he could potentially do it. There's just a lot of things heading into this Rumble, even though there's certain people will win it, because you could sort of see where the stars are aligning with the stories that they're telling. But it just makes it unpredictable, and that's the best thing about this. So I love Roman Reigns being a part of it, because one of the things I love about the Royal Rumble the most is the moments where you see, hypothetically, let's say, for example, I'm just going to bring this up. Let's say Julia is in the Royal Rumble. She's not going to win it, but if she has that stare down of Io Sky, a lot of people are going to be hitting that nut button like fucking crazy, because they want to see that match down the line.
Super nut.
So it's like, that's one of the things I love about it. You see these stare downs. Like, imagine Obafemi standing across the ring with somebody like John Cena, for example, or a CM Punk or whatever, and he's not even on the main roster. Just those stare downs that I love about it, and then potentially teasing something, seeing that Roman Reigns and CM Punk stare down again in the Royal Rumble, because you never know where things are going to factor with them, and it could potentially lead to something down the road. That's what I love about it. So that was a great move.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. This is gonna be a big Rumble, and when you remember too, because
I don't even know who's going to win the men's.
too with this. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Who could? I mean, I know Cena's a front runner apparently, but again, always take those with a grain of salt, people.
Yeah.
But I think one thing too with Roman, because like, and correct me if I'm wrong with this too, he currently holds the record for most eliminations in a single Rumble, right? Because he's sitting at 13, I think. Unless Lesnar broke that back in 2020.
Didn't Kane have something like that, or no?
Kane did, but then Roman broke that
Okay.
during a Rumble.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,
if it was Roman.
yeah. Because I think it was like 2014 Rumble he broke it, because that was the one that Batista won. But everybody wanted Roman to win because Dan O'Brien wasn't in it, and then they didn't want Batista to win. So it's like, oh yeah, Roman, go get him. And then Vince is just in the back like, oh, they love Roman Reigns, let's push him. It's like, no, not the way you're pushing him, dude. But hey, now that Paul Heyman's alone in the ring, let's get Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu out here to intimidate him a little bit. And luckily for Paul, Jimmy's around, which I thought Jimmy would come out with Sammy, because again, I thought we're doing this whole like shake-up kind of thing or transfer window or whatever, but no, it's just Jimmy coming out, and then Cody coming back to help Jimmy with the two. And I mean, we see that they come back out later on in the night to help LA Knight from a beatdown, and it basically sets up our main event of Cody and Jimmy taking on Jacob and Tama Tonga. And I don't, again, why does Cody have to keep inserting himself in the bloodline? It's one thing for like Roman or Solo to come to Cody, That's one thing. It's another thing for Cody to put himself in there. You know, like, I got it with, like, when he teamed up with Roman. That made sense, because it's like, okay, you know what? I need to take out Solo. He keeps, trying to get after me and all that. And Roman, I know we don't see eye to eye, but hey, one night only. Let's just team up, take him out, whatever. So that makes sense to me, at least in my mind. But it's like, are you still being that good of a guy, like with Jimmy as well? I don't know. It's one of those things where it's just like, why are you inserting yourself into this? You don't need to. Like, I get it, you're a good guy. You're the freaking shonen protagonist of our WWE and all that. But, like, you have your own shit to deal with Kevin Owens. Focus on Kevin Owens. Like, and I really feel like it's gonna all bite Cody in the ass. I don't know how or when. It could be from a returning Viper, because Randy Orton's going to eat that weakness alive. Like, he is going to take advantage of that when they feud. And I hope he does, because Cody needs to learn that lesson. I feel like that's next with Cody's, like, character development, as a character at least, is like learning to not be such a good guy. But again, I could be wrong in that. Let me hear from you guys.
Since you brought that up, that's kind of who I wanted to. Now you brought up Randy Orton, I think that's kind of who I want to win the Royal Rumble, because he could easily win the Royal Rumble for the men's, and then he could easily come out there and get his revenge on Kevin Owens, and then you could easily set up that whole thing with him and Cody right there. And that's not something you really need to worry about that much story being put into, because there's already a story there. They just have to extend on it leading into WrestleMania. That would honestly be the ideal opponent for Cody at WrestleMania. I mean, it seems like that Rock stuff just thrown. I definitely do not think that's happening anymore.
No.
But it's like, if they aren't doing Cody and Cena, I mean, Cody and Randy would be perfect. But I definitely feel like that's when Randy's coming back, because I do remember seeing reports that Randy Orton is expected to be back soon, and more than likely it probably will be at the Royal Rumble. We don't know if it's going to be at the match itself. We don't even know what the placement of the card, because he could very well come back early in the night and help Cody if Cody is main eventing the show. But I feel like the Rumble should main the show. But he could easily pop up in that match, get his revenge on Kevin Owens, and then we could go from there. But it's like, adding on to what you said about, like, the whole Bloodline thing, I was like, I kind of wish it was just whatever him and Kevin Owens were doing, like we saw on the show tonight. Because you could have easily had Paul Heyman come out there and say Roman Reigns' next target is to reclaim his crown by getting the WWE title, and saying that he's coming after Cody Rhodes. You could have easily done it like that. You didn't necessarily need to call Cody out there. I get why they did it, because they wanted to create a moment out of that. Maybe that's going to get thrown into a video package. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
But it's like, you could have easily just addressed it like that, and then you could obviously have Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu come out there, and then you could easily have Jay and Jimmy or Sammy, whatever, come out there, because they're currently beefing with the Bloodline. You could have easily done something like that. So it's like, I don't know why he keeps getting placed in these matches, because I mean, when the time comes, obviously it'll make sense to revisit it. If he ever has an encounter with Jacob Fatu down the line or whatever, nobody's gonna say no to that. But it's like, for the time being, I mean, just focus on Kevin Owens, because, like, Kevin Owens is right for what he's saying when it comes to the sort of things that Cody's doing. But one thing I do want Kevin Owens to acknowledge as well, just like Drew McIntyre acknowledged with Solo as well. I mean, KO, you gotta keep in mind that you were trying to help Solo on Monday, so it's like,
you might want to acknowledge that.
You're contradicting what you're saying with what you're doing.
So it's like, he's 100% right what he's saying about Cody. But come on, KO, you gotta make sure the story's lining up well, because You were trying to put that pile driver on Roman. You were trying to take him out to help Solo. Go pin him. Go pin him. Do this. Do that. It's like, dude, don't you fucking hate this guy? So, but that's not even like the big point. I'm just poking fun at him just for shits and giggles.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I definitely agree with you when it comes to like that involvement with that. And yet again, that's like something with creative and everything. I'm not really sure like why we had to do something like that tonight, because even what we saw towards the end of the match that that we'll dive into, Cody just went in the back and was brawling with KO. So
Yeah.
it's like, did that match really need to take place? It was a good match, sure. It was a good watch and everything along the lines of that. I mean, who's gonna complain? Jimmy, you looked pretty good tonight. You're not gonna complain out. You're not gonna get a single complaint out of me seeing Jacob Fatu in action, but yeah, they just
Hell no.
decided to go back and beat the shit out of each other, and it's left Jimmy out in the dust.
If
No
anything,
lie,
besides,
I was gonna say, I thought Jimmy was gonna win by himself right at the end. I thought like, oh shit, they're actually not gonna give him the win by himself. Like that's actually different, but it didn't happen. I was like, oh, they didn't give him the win. I thought they were.
nah, like besides the women's #1 contenders match, Jacob Fatu was another highlight for me tonight, because his presence tonight, at least for me, he felt like a ticking time bomb. And I feel like that's where we're gonna be going with Jacob Fatu, because he's about to snap. I feel like, and when he snaps, everybody's gonna feel it. I think we're gonna get an instance. He's getting the whole phrase of "I love you" Solo over, and it's gonna end up turning into "I loved you" Solo. It's gonna become past tense.
Maybe that's what happens next week, because it's kind of like
Could be.
Solo wasn't on the show this week. Obviously, they're not going to progress the story without him there, just similar to how they do it. Roman's not there; they don't really progress the story. But with Solo
Yeah.
returning, maybe this is Solo coming to terms with what he said. But yeah, losing comes with consequences. Actually acknowledging that he lost and he deserves to get kicked out, or he tries to structure things in a way where it's like you gotta listen to Roman now, like he said, because Solo did lay that out. He says if he has that around his neck again, you gotta acknowledge him as the tribal chief. I'm not the tribal chief anymore. I mean, he needs
Yeah.
to come forward and be honest and actually bring up what he said previously, so the stars align with what the next chapter of this story is going to be. And I honestly expected to see that tonight, but there was no Solo. But maybe you get a little progression with that. Maybe it doesn't take off next week, or maybe you get something with that, because just looking at like Solo, like as a whole, like with his plans heading into WrestleMania and everything along the lines of that, I don't see Solo getting left off the card just because he doesn't have the Ula Fala anymore. Like, sure,
No.
Roman can go and do his own thing and have a big match at Mania, but I wouldn't leave Solo off the card. Like, if they could easily do a program if they really wanted to, with like Jacob Fatu and Solo, if they wanted to do something along the lines of that, like give Jacob Fatu a match with Solo, build with what we got from here moving forward, or wherever the case may be. Like, that's something I can definitely say that they showed us towards the end of the show for next week that I am interested in. Like, I kind of wish there was more
Yeah.
structure, because starting off the day, I didn't know what the hell was going on
Yeah.
besides like this US title match and the whole Tiffany celebration. That's all I knew. Like they
Yeah.
didn't start announcing stuff until like almost closer to the show.
Yeah. And here's an idea too I'll throw out. Like, if we're going to be doing a Solo redemption arc here, there's a 6-man tag sitting right there with him and the Usos against the Tamas and Jacob Fatu.
Yeah.
WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Like, but Bloodline rules match,
Yeah.
like, or Bloodline Civil War, like, make it no DQ, let them just go at it, have a few more broken toes and a bunch of headbutts and all that. I just, again, with Jacob's overall vibe tonight, he was coming across as like somebody who's about to snap, and I mean, I'm gonna be all for it too. And yeah, I mean, the match itself though, like the tag match, I mean, again, it was fine. Like, it, usual formula we have when it comes to tag team matches in WWE. It's like, oh, faces are, on top at start, but oh no, the heels do something dastardly until we get the hot tag, and then we finally start amping up the match a bit. Yeah, Cody leaving during the match to face Kevin. I feel like that's going to come up later on, maybe probably during Roman's feud with him, or maybe next week. I hope they bring it up because he just kind of abandoned Jimmy for Kevin, which again, maybe
Yeah.
you should just be focusing on Kevin and not the bloodline, you know? And yeah, overall, I mean, Jimmy tried. He tried, and ultimately failed. And you know what? Speaking of Jimmy, I know we're kind of going on some tangents here and all that. I also want to bring up something that this little segment he had with Carmelo Hayes in the back. I want to ask you guys,
Hmm.
you feel about Carmelo Hayes on the main roster right now?
I'm gonna say this right here. I brought up this transfer window. Bring him to Raw, because one of the best things about doing this whole transfer thing is you bring someone to a new show, they're pretty much starting their life over again from scratch. Quick, nice soft reset. I don't know why I was thinking of like
Yeah.
God of War 2018 when I said that, but kind of a reset like that
I
where it's like
mean,
where it's like you got a nice reset, new playground,
boy, still
many
can't do it.
many new friends to many new people to come in contact with. I mean, I would just move him to Raw, honestly, because I don't really
Yeah.
know what's going on with him. I mean, it's in his character to act that way because when he did turn heel in NXT, he started doing the exact same thing. Like once he turned on Trick, he started being a smart ass, started hater, everything along the lines of that. But it's like I don't really know what he's doing, and that's why I brought up the whole thing with
Yeah.
like Braun Breaker. He seems like everything's set in stone for him. Like everything's properly structured. We know what he's doing. We know what his next move is after he drops that belt. A lot of people even agree if he really wanted to, he could be in the world title picture right now, and no person would really have an issue with that. But you got to look at it like this: it's like Carmelo Hayes was said to be one of those rising stars. You could easily see it in him.
Mhm.
He has the charisma, knows how to talk on the mic. He's great in the ring. You guys watched Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov have their trilogy in NXT in
Oh yeah.
2023. I mean, that was fucking fantastic. Those two work together so well. I want to see that Carmelo Hayes on the main roster because we know he can go. We know he could deliver. We know that he could be a champion. And even just looking at like US title scene that we'll touch on later, I mean, just looking at it now, it's kind of like this dude should have had that title already, and he could have been doing wonders for it. Like I love Carmelo. I think he's great. I want to see him do something. I'm not really sure like what we're doing here with like these little remarks backstage, throwing chairs at Braun Strowman, whatever it is. Like that's not the Carmelo
Yeah.
Hayes that I know. I'm not saying that he's getting buried or anything, but he could definitely have better creative getting put into his character. So at least we know a proper direction when it comes. Okay, what is he doing?
Mhm. And like I get it because like right now, because I think Braun right now is under the weather. He's like ill or
Yeah,
something. Like
yeah,
he's got some sort of sickness going on. So like that's why he's off TV. So I mean that's kind of put a halt on his thing with Carmelo. But I mean that'll restart too. I could
oh yeah,
if they wanted to feel really ballsy, have I know we keep talking about returns at the Rumble and all that, but I can just imagine like Carmelo still talking shit for the next couple weeks, and then the Royal Rumble hits, and like it's like the next number after him, and Carmelo's like, "Yeah, I just eliminated somebody. All right, who's next? Who's next?" And like it's just him in the ring, and then Braun comes out.
It'd be even crazier if Trick comes
I'm
out.
about to say Trick Williams because Trick is
That
now free
ooh,
since he lost his title, so now he's able to come to the
look.
main roster.
Yeah,
So Trick will be coming out the best opponent for that.
or I'm gonna
Mhm.
throw another one in. They're really gonna hit that adrenaline for Watkins, Malachi Black.
Oh, make my
Okay, that's
make
an
my member
interesting.
stand
I'm
up.
not saying it's gonna
Mhm.
happen, but that match is definitely in the works.
Look, if his contract is up in February, like
Mm.
February 1st,
Like
I mean,
I'm not even trying to like over exaggerate anything. Like Triple H fucking loves Malachi. He
Mhm.
loves him. A lot of people even agree he was the one person that booked him so well. And oh my God, when he comes back, he's going to be doing great things.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't expect him, to
Oh,
be
yeah.
main eventing like right away, at
Oh, no,
least right
not
away,
me either.
but like
Yeah.
he's yeah, but like
Oh,
he's gonna like for the mid card, like
oh
especially
yeah.
in the mid card division, like US title, intercontinental title
Oh,
picture,
yeah.
like throw him in those pictures and just have him go at it. I mean, yeah, that means he's gonna be eaten by Braun Breaker, but it's like that's at least gonna be a good match. I could
Unless
see
he,
them pulling out an awesome match
yeah. Unless he
between the
gets a black
two.
mist on him, then Braun's down.
True. Hell, I mean, Zelina's on Raw, so he's probably gonna be on Raw
Oh,
because
yeah.
at least this regime likes to kind of keep these married people together.
Hmm.
So, Tiffany and Ludwig go ahead and
Yeah.
get hitched, so that way y'all are on the same show.
Speaking of, unless we have any other thoughts on here, the only
Yeah, I
reason
was just
why,
gonna ask.
audience, that we were talking about these sort of things is because realistically, we are trying to find things to talk about for the coverage of this perfectly.
Yeah,
But
because
yes,
yeah.
but speaking to what Watkins says, yeah, it's Tiffy time. Like, this is a
Oh, it's
perfect
Tiffy time,
segue
baby.
into our next topic of the night. And honestly, this was like the highlight of the show again for me when
Hmm.
it came to everything that happened within the show, the number one contenders match that we'll definitely talk about, because I definitely see some stories being told, not just with Bailey obviously being the number one contenders for Tiffany's title, but also when it comes to Naomi, Bianca. Like, I'll share a little thing once we dive into that. I feel like what might potentially go on with that. But just to
Hmm.
unless you guys want me to throw the mic to you guys first, I just want to say this one quick thing. I'm just really happy
Yeah.
to see her in this position, and she looks really great with that title. And that only
Hmm.
goes for so many people. It's like you can have someone with a title. It's awesome they have it, but sometimes it doesn't feel like the title and the person really mix well together. But with Tiffany, she looks really good with that title. Like, everything aligns
Yeah.
so well with it. And it's crazy because she's only 25 years old and she's already a WWE Women's Champion. She just got called up last year, keep in mind. Normally, if this was many
11 months
years
ago.
ago, this would
Yep.
have took her at
11 months
least
ago.
3 to 4 years to achieve something like that. But no, she did it within a year's time. She came up to the main
Hmm.
roster. She won Money in the Bank in the same year, and she became women's champion the very first show of 2025 for SmackDown. That's pretty crazy. And even before that, she
Yeah.
was like NXT champion like the previous year in 2023, until, she ended up dropping the title to Becky, and then they ended up running it back. I mean, that was the match a lot of people did say that really made Tiffany
Hmm.
Stratton, that really put her out there. A lot of people got to look at it like this: just because you lose a match doesn't mean it makes you look bad. With that match that
Yeah.
Becky had with Tiffany, the main reason why, I'm just gonna stick up for Becky right here, just because I'm trying to explain my point.
As you should.
Becky
Like,
is a very selfless person, and the main reason why
mhm,
she held that NXT title is to help establish people that don't necessarily get that much time. That's why she was defending it
yeah.
against Isaiah Lee and Tegan Knox and Indy Hartwell, people along the lines of that, because she wanted to give them the spotlight. So I don't want to hear any shit saying that she's a selfish person and she wants herself to be above others, because there's a clip that I've seen recently where she says, I'd rather lose matches than actually win them,
Yeah.
because she likes establishing talent. So it's like,
Yeah.
just looking at where Tiffany is right now, it's great. And the thing that we notice for her, and I'll pass the mic to you guys now, is it seems like she's like in a little a tweener role. And I feel like a certain queen might actually bring out that baby face side of her soon. But what was your
Mhm.
guys' like overall thoughts on like how everything opened up there?
Yeah, because I mean, we were talking about that in our group chat, like in our Discord, which, if you guys want to join our Discord, I'm pretty sure there's a link down in the description
Yeah,
below.
there should be, yeah.
Joining in all those fun conversations as the show's going on. Um, but Yeah, we were mentioning how like she might be in this tweener role where it's like, okay, her promos might be more on the heelish side, have a little bit more, edge to it a little bit, but like in ring, she'll be more of a kind of a baby face, like coming from the bottom up, because again, she's fairly new on the roster, so like she's this new kid on the block. Like, granted, again, it's been a year and all that, but it's like her first title defense right now is against Bailey. And I mean that's a strong contender right there. And
Mhm.
I mean I already saw complaints when Bailey won that, oh, Bailey won this match. Why did she have to win? It's just like, well, when you look at who was in the match and you look at how that match was structured and how certain things happened in the match, we had certain seeds being planted. We had possible other directions for your women's tag team champions to go down and under, and Nia, she doesn't have to go for Tiffany right away. We can always, kind of build more into that, even though, yeah, we've had a few months build with like the whole Nia and Tiffany relationship and all that. But like, you could hold that off just really quick, because like Tiffany needs to have a defense where she can look really good as a champion. And who better than to put her up against than Bailey, you know? And especially when you put it into this perspective, again, Bailey's one of the four horsewomen. And I know Tiffany didn't beat Becky, but she at least looked really good against Becky. With her match against Bailey, I mean, she's gonna win against Bailey. Like, you can't really take the title off of Tiffany right now because that would just kind of make her look like a dork in the worst way possible, But like, this is gonna be another match for Tiffany to kind of show out again. This could be another Becky situation again, where it's like, okay, we're gonna make you look really good, and the best person for that job is Bailey. And I had mentioned, some other seeds being planted for some other people. I could see Nia and Candice going up against Bianca and Naomi again,
Yeah.
for the tag titles. This time Tiffany's not around to really spoil their fun and all that stuff, but you could also have, oh, I don't know, a possible returning Jade Cargill ruin
That's
it for them.
yeah, that's what I was gonna lead into. I
Hmm.
could definitely see something like that. That's why I said like there's some stories that I saw coming out of this match outside of like the number one contenders match because like you said, Bailey going up against Tiffany for her first title defense makes a lot of sense. Bailey's one of the
Yeah.
four horsewomen. I don't know where this Bailey hate came from. It's came out of random. You guys were cheering for this girl to win the Rumble and actually get her
Just
flowers,
a
and
year ago.
all of a sudden you're pretty much just proving Brian Danielson's point right that fans are
Fickle.
fickle. They say one thing and then next day they're saying the exact opposite. So it's like that's a great
Yeah.
first title defense for her. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a great match. I hope Tiffany get even more over, especially Bailey saying that Tiffany never beat her. And then you also have the whole
Hmm.
thing with Candice and Nia going up against Bianca and Naomi and potentially getting those titles, which I can definitely see with Jade Cargill coming back. And that
Yeah.
could potentially happen at Saturday night's main event because we still don't know what's going on with that. I had like two ideas in my head for some reason. Like I saw like the match happening with Tiffany and Bailey next week, and then for some strange reason,
Hmm.
I thought in my head, oh, they're gonna do Tiffany and Nia Jax is technically Nia Jax's older rematch. So are they gonna pull
Yeah.
something quick for that next Saturday? Be like, you know what, you'll get your rematch here. So sure, he has two title defenses right off the bat that look pretty awesome so far when it comes to like her with the title instead of waiting for a PLE or a special moment. Actually two title defenses within those 2 weeks, that would be pretty cool because like you eventually have to write that up, and that could potentially just be the tag match. And then you could return Jade. And like I don't see like I don't know why people are saying like, oh, when Jade comes back she's gonna be healed. Does not make sense for her to come back and get her
Yeah.
revenge on Bianca and Naomi and then be healed. Doesn't make any sense. It would be the exact opposite. It's like someone coming back. It's the normal human thing. It's like something happens in your life, or if you see it in a video game, in a movie, the person comes back and then they get their revenge for whatever that other person does. And one thing I noticed is we started buying into this whole Naomi thing, and I'm still leaning towards that, but now I'm gonna throw Bianca in there because one thing I have noticed is ever since Bianca and Naomi became tag team champions and everything, there's no mention of Jade. Oh, how's Jade doing?
Yeah.
Did you ever find out what's going on with her behind the scenes or whatever? It's like this was an ongoing thing, and then once they established that whole tag team title thing, it's like Jade's name isn't even brought up at all. So maybe both of them
Yep.
are the culprits, because for all I know, it could be
That's
one
where
of
I'm leading. That's where I'm leading towards.
yeah,
I think of both of them.
because it could be one of those things where, let's say that Naomi laid her out in the back, and then Bianca went there to just play off like, oh my god, who attacked my friend? What's going on, whatever? Because realistically, you would think, oh, you know, she's there trying to figure out what happened to her friend, but the fact that they're not even mentioning her or even bringing up like what happened, and maybe potentially it could be something different. Bianca might have attacked her after the match, or just playing it off before her match and just playing it off like she didn't do anything. Like, I feel like that'd be pretty cool because you get like a Bianca and Naomi heel turn at the same time. That would actually be pretty cool. Like, honestly, I'm starting to think even further. Like, imagine with this whole transfer window going on, imagine them like you got a power trip with Bianca, Naomi, Lash Legend, Jakara Jackson. That'd be a great way to help build them up on the main roster, because it definitely feels like they're gonna be moving on to SmackDown. So that'd be pretty cool to see. And then you have like some sort of obstacles for Jade to climb. That'd be pretty interesting to see. And because it definitely feels like we are because I don't know if you guys saw the reports, but they were even saying that like Jade's been at the Performance Center, she's been getting ready and stuff like that. So obviously it's coming soon. It's either something at the Rumble, or it's something at Saturday Night's Main Event, or any of these SmackDowns leading up before Rumble. Like, I definitely feel like it's happening either sometime this month or the Rumble that she's coming back. I mean, definitely Rumble is the deadline, because that's when you really got to start building into Mania. But I'm definitely agreeing with what you said. It's definitely Bianca and Naomi, not one person. It's
And like
two of them.
And like to kind of fill a hole too, really quick, is, you know, because some people might say, oh, you know, you can see that, but like, why did Bianca leave her qualifying match then for the title? Blah blah blah. It's just like, okay, you could say that. However, the attack in the moment could have still happened. It's just when the body was found was at the worst time, because it's like, okay, what does Bianca do? Does she go and keep her cover and go make sure her friend is fine? Or does she somewhat blow her cover to try to win the match and then go to Jade? Because then people will be like, well, why didn't you go to help Jade right away? Like, all that stuff. So, like, you kind of run into that little problem of it. But, like, I think that's a good way to kind of, like, fill that hole. It's just like, okay, no, I left because, A, I'm the EST. Like, you can kind of dive into, like, the whole, like, cockiness that Bianca can have with her gimmick of being like the best at anything, the strongest, the fastest, the pretty, like, you know, the best of anything. And it's just like, you know, yeah, I was confident enough that I would get another title shot anyways, you know, because I am the best, you know.
Yeah.
But Vash, let's hear from you about this segment. What do you think of like how we set up this whole Tiffany Stratton title defense for next week? Like, again, I thought we would at least hold off a bit for the first title defense, like at least for Saturday Night's Main Event, but nah, it's gonna happen next week.
So, are you asking me about the fight of the Fatal 4-Way, or are you asking about the Tiffy time overall?
All together.
Tiffy time.
Yeah,
Tiffy time.
I guess overall, really, because like we're like kind of meshing everything together. Which is fine, you know.
Okay, so we're meshing into because I want to know if we if we're talking two different segments.
Oh yeah.
But if we're meshing into everything together, first I want to say about Tiffy time. Her segment of her congratulations or her welcoming party of being the winner, I felt the in-betweener, like the tweener that she is, because the way she spoke to the audience, like, hey, I fooled her, you know, I actually liked her, I made her my bitch the whole time, and then not Jack coming out like you little shit, like you actually tricked me this whole time.
I upset
That shit was funny. Like I felt like I was watching some Mean Girls vibe on live TV pro wrestling, just seeing them two like talk shit to each other. So it was pretty funny seeing that interaction. But when it comes to both of them, I like Tiffany standing up for herself and making it feel like that she did this on her own. I thought Nia was gonna win, honestly, so we could see like a
Same
Tiffany
here.
versus Nia in an actual match between them. How would Tiffany overcome this? I would have liked to see that as the winner. And it was pretty cool to see all the other girls come out, and it made sense. They had reasonable faction of why, like, hey, I should get that match because of A, B, and C. Like Naomi came out with Bianca, they both had it. I'm shocked that there was no more tension between them because it's like, hey, y'all both going for the same title. That y'all
Hmm.
both technically help each other lose to and technically help Tiffany for. So it's pretty interesting to see their interaction. Now they say like, hey, this happened, what it is. Uh, really cool fatal four way. I was really entertained. This was to me my match of the night. It was the most entertaining match
Hmm.
out of the 3 hours of SmackDown. It was really good. Naomi, Bianca, and Nia and Bailey had a good fatal forward. I was really entertained
Yeah.
overall. I didn't expect with Bailey to win, but she made a good case that she lost her belt because of Tiffany when she had the briefcase when it was against Nia for SummerSlam. So it makes sense for her to be involved and to blame it to Tiffany. Like, hey, I technically lost because of you. I should be your first opponent. And a smart move because Bailey has always had it opportunities and chances, like she said in her promo with Braxton. So it gave more leverage, more concrete evidence of Bailey being the perfect opponent for Tiffany next week.
Hmm.
It's a bit questionable because I know I brought up in my Stampede and I brought it up um during our conversation earlier for the Saturday night main event. We haven't even announced any matches. The only match we announced was Cody and KO in Royal Rumble, and that was like last week, so or I think 2 weeks ago. So for us to announce a match a month and a half in advance, when another smaller version PLE is in 2 weeks, it makes more questionable. Like, okay, so what are you guys setting up? Are you guys trying to still are you guys still trying to figure it out or trying to pencil it in or see what works? Because we have two mid card now titles. Like the IC is about to be crowned next Monday. We gonna have one to defend it? Is this PA gonna be more like a mid card, not really like a full card? So it's really curious to know where they're gonna lead it up to.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't know what they're gonna be adding for the show, but we got
Yeah, I don't know.
a little over a week to build for it now. Because I mean,
Yeah.
again, we didn't really build much for tonight. I
Oh,
mean, we mentioned the show.
yeah.
There were two commercials back to back that had Hogan being like, "Let me tell you something, brother. Make sure you watch Saturday night's main event and drink my shitty beer." Like,
Which
okay,
is crazy
cool.
that they I know we didn't mention this Monday, but it's crazy that they even promoted Hulk Hogan's beer and not the guy that's been drinking beer on their network on their company for the past 3 4 years. Like, hey, you didn't want to promote Steve Austin, the guy that lady is known for
Hmm.
drinking beer.
Guy that's one of the
And look,
most
quick,
popular wrestlers of all time.
Exactly.
yeah. And quick little tangent with this because I'm sorry, it's so funny how he got booed, but like seeing the reports coming out throughout the week of how WWE like backstage have been reacting to it, I think one thing that really got me was the fact that they're just like, yeah, we might get some other superstar or legend to promote the beer instead of Hogan coming out, and I'm just sitting there like, oh, someone's gonna get thrown with that thing, and I'm like, oh, who could
Hmm.
really sell a beer that's not Austin? Because I mean he has his own thing. I think it's just funny watching listening to all those complaints or not complaints. I guess the news stories coming out with it. But yeah, I thought that again, I know I didn't touch much on the Fatal Four Way match, but yeah, it was really good. I
Oh
thought.
yeah.
I mean, whole story being hey, we're gonna have the tag champions basically like this is almost a pseudo tag match in a way even though like Bailey and Nia weren't really a team, but it was really like a 2-on-1 match. And I mean we got the tease of Naomi and Bianca facing each other, but they decided not to. So, okay, neat, cool, all right, fine. Which, I mean, I think just gives me further evidence that they were both in on it with Jade. Like,
Yeah.
I,
That,
I didn't trust that part.
that was the thing I was gonna bring up that I forgot to mention. I was talking before. It's like, what do you think that whole thing with Bianca accidentally hitting her with her braid is gonna do anything, or was that just done just for Nia to
That's a good question.
do
I
some
don't think so.
shenanigans in the match?
I don't think so.
Because
Yeah, I think it just kind of led to the end of the match, but I mean,
Yeah.
it could come up, be like,
Yeah.
oh well, if your braid didn't hit me, I probably could have won. It could add more tension to it,
Yeah.
even if they are like together in all of this.
Yeah, because the only reason why I mentioned that is because they do stuff like that all the time. You could say it doesn't lead to something, but then it does. Because then there might be one of those things that we see in a backstage segment next week saying, oh, I could have been going after Tiffany. Or I could have been going after
Yeah.
Tiffany. Could have been one of those things. You never know. Maybe this is a master plan between the both of them, or the Bianca thing, or Naomi thing. If I had to choose one, I would say Bianca. I'm dying to see heel turn.
Yeah.
But
Oh, same
I don't
here.
know. We'll just wait and see where that goes to. But I wouldn't count that
Yeah.
whip out. Like, I wouldn't say it's not going to do anything. Like that could very well add to the whole tension in there, because Naomi could easily just look at Bianca and point finger. But it's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
but yeah, match one actually went on for 17 minutes and 18 seconds. So the girls definitely had a lot of time
Yeah.
to cook with this match.
Mhm.
There's a lot of close falls and stuff. There's a lot of points within the match itself I thought it was gonna end, but it didn't. One of the things I will say is I understand Bailey likes hitting the rose plant, and I have no issue when she does it. I've always been a big fan of Bailey. Like, Bailey, out of the four horsewomen growing up for me, Bailey was my favorite, and she still is, because I was a huge Bailey mark growing up. I mean, I still am. But one of the things that I love about Bailey is when she does Bailey to belly. Like, I'm hoping she does that as like the end all move.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I know people had complaints too about that because it's like, oh, it's just a belly to belly suplex, but it's just like, okay, well, dude, it's all about like kind of like the level of it. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, you have Goku whose like signature move is the Kamehameha wave, but like you also have like Krillin who can do it. You have Yamcha who can do it. You have Tien who can do it. And it's just like, yeah, they can do it, but it's not really their signature move. It's not like their best move or anything. It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, they could do it. It's not as strong or as powerful. Whereas like with Goku, literally he can shoot it from his feet and like propel himself and all that shit, or if somebody uses like the destructor disc, for example, it's like, okay, you use the move, but it's not really yours. Or like, I guess another example too is like, oh, Kakashi, look, I can do the Rasengan. I can't do it that well, but hey, look, it's right there in my palm, just in the palm of my hand. And if future Vash wants to, edit that for a TikTok, hey, go ahead, do what you want for that. But
Oh yeah.
yeah. I don't have much. Yeah, exactly. I don't have much else to add
Me
other
either.
than, I mean, I'm curious where we're going with everything. Especially if we're throwing our women's tag champions into a number one contenders match for singles title, but that's neither here nor
I
there
hope
for that.
the main event is Tiffy versus Bailey. If not, the lead
That'd
up
be
to the main
nice.
event, that would be nice to show that hey, they deserve it. Because I feel like depending on the story, depending on the promo in the beginning, but I feel like they should earn it, and I feel like they have.
Yeah. I think so too. And, speaking about earning things and all that, we had one guy who earned, well, I guess he tried to earn his way to the US title
Oh
picture,
boy.
but, when you get blinded and cheated out of your
Yeah.
title, yeah, I guess that's a way to earn it. But yeah, we had a couple title matches tonight, both of them for the US titles. We're going to start with the men's U.S. title match. We had Shinsuke Nakamura defending against L.A. Knight. Yeah. First of all, people complaining that Lillian Garcia added the "yeah" to her announcing.
I don't know
Fuck
why.
right off.
Look,
It was
I would
fine.
say
I
it
don't know why
was
people are
fine.
complaining about
I
that.
hope she could improve it because it felt like too right next to, so the transition fell flat.
You
But
just
if she improves it by next week or she practices it, I feel like girl's gonna get it the right timing. This is the first time I believe I heard it on
Yes.
TV and everything. So to me, it's not a big deal. First time, we move on to the next one and improve it.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really lean too much into it. I mean, that I didn't really have any issues with that at all. It was mainly the U.S. title picture. Like, I could care less
Yeah.
about how she announced them out. It's just U.S. title picture with not just with Shinsuke Nakamura, but with also what we'll talk about after that as well. But it's like
Yeah.
my initial thoughts coming in here, I didn't want LA Knight winning the match only
Mhm.
because it does damage to Shinsuke Nakamura because you're trying to build this new character with him. You want him to actually be taken seriously this time because it all started with that whole match that he had with AJ all those years ago, and then ever since then, he was never the same. I mean, if it was me, I would have crowned him that night, and then things probably would have been better for him in the long run. I mean, one can only hope. But it's like just looking at how everything was structured here tonight. I mean, that's one of the things why I keep mentioning again and again. LA Knight needs a new environment. He's dealt with the Bloodline before. Like, why are we doing this again? Where it's like, okay, instead of like Jimmy and Solo and all of them, like Solo's still involved with this new Bloodline, but like instead of what he dealt with prior, like now you got Jacob Fatu coming out there. You got Tama Tonga. It's like, what's going on here? And then you got Cody and Jimmy coming out for the save to help set up the match, which we obviously talked about earlier. But it's like, what is LA Knight doing? Because LA Knight is one of those people that got over organically. A lot of the people got behind him. He still gets a lot of pops. That's why when people say, "Oh, LA Knight fell under," no, he didn't. He still gets pops every single week. That's not the issue. A
Yeah.
lot of people just want LA Knight to be put in a proper picture where it actually matters. This whole US title picture, honestly, after this or whatever, I would just get away with I would just go away from it because it's not really doing anything to benefit his character. It's like you want LA Knight to be on this high pedestal and everything, but at the same time you can't damage this new character that you're trying to do with Shinsuke Nakamura too. So it's like you just have Shinsuke Nakamura win the belt, he goes to Noah, and then he drops to the LA Knight right away. I wouldn't be a big fan of that. A lot of people were thinking he was going to win tonight. I wouldn't be a big fan of that move because that's just damaging his character. And the reason why
Yeah.
I'm sticking up for Shinsuke is mainly because they're trying to take him seriously as a talent that they want you to give a fuck about. But LA Knight, like that's why I said he needs to go on Raw. I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but it would just benefit him the most because throwing him in here Bloodline shenanigans again, like what's gonna happen? We're getting like a match with him and Cody teaming up against the Bloodline again, like seeing them together, it's awesome. But at the same time, it's like I don't want to see something like that.
Yeah.
And
You know,
again, with Carmelo Hayes, Andrade, they were involved. Everything was going fine in between this whole Shinsuke Nakamura thing. I don't know what's going on. Like I'm definitely
Yeah.
like not as invested as I was originally with the U.S. title picture for the men.
Yeah, because it's like okay, um, uh, to me, what this felt like, it felt like they're just prolonging LA Knight getting the U.S. title back because of that very reason. They don't want Shinsuke to feel like, oh, you just held the belt so you could tout it around Noah and be like, oh, look, we have a WWE champion in our other promotion. Holy
Mhm.
fucking ass crackers. That's insane. So, are you really going to prove us right in that
Yeah.
aspect? Or do you actually want to stick to your guns and actually have like Nakamura actually be a threat? Like, either cheating in a match, ripping turnbuckles off and all that. Like, it's one thing to do all that stuff because hey, that's within his character. That's his like as I like the name they came up with like this shinobi assassin. Like those two words just kind of they feel right next to each other. But like that's the thing, is just like, he's an assassin. He's gonna look for the best opening in order to get the victory, because he's not looking just to have some glory with it all. He's looking to win at any cost, And I mean, tonight, yeah, he didn't win the match because LA Knight was the one that got attacked, so
Mhm.
the DQ was on LA Knight, but he walked away still the champion because the whole champion's advantage thing. But like, yeah, we gotta keep Nakamura looking strong. But I do want to put a positive with this, because I do think Nakamura and LA Knight do have some good in-ring chemistry,
They
Mhm.
do.
because their styles clash in a really good way.
Yeah.
Because again, you have LA Knight being like almost like this bruiser guy, this
Mhm.
brawler, this guy that, like, he's gonna do a lot of suplexes, gonna do a lot of holds. Like, he had this, like, I thought of it as like a reverse Boston Crab. I don't know if that's the actual like name of it or anything, but like, he was pulling off submission moves, suplexes, all that stuff, and it's like you have that against a striker, somebody that's like gonna pinpoint a part of your body and just destroy it with like either his knees, elbows, headbutts, like anything that he could do to just like strike you. And I mean, again, their styles clash in a really good way. So I at least want to pull that up, because, like,
Yeah.
we could sit here and be like, oh, well, the story is just like, we could have other people be like, in this picture, but it's like, they do at least have something together when it's in the ring. So it's not like something where I'm just sitting there like, okay, this match is boring. Why am I watching this? Why are we still doing this? No, I'm at least entertained with the in-ring action that we're getting.
Yeah.
So I at least wanted to throw that out there, even though we're talking about, we're still having these two kind of do their thing. Uh, but I'm gonna pass it on to you, Vash. Any thoughts that you have regarding the U.S. title picture?
So you start a picture, not much, because we already discussed it further, saying that, like, with Shinsuke, I'm happy he didn't lose either. We on the same page, because LA Knight, what's the point of him to win when he already held the U.S. title for, I think he had it for what, 90 days, or I think 112 days, I believe it was, something like that.
Uh, it was a few months. Yeah, it was like 3 months, I think. So
Yeah, so
that's roughly 90 to 100.
he had roughly less than 120 days, Chad. So for him to go back and get it, I don't think he needs it. Right now, Shinsuke deserves it. He has a great representation. His music, the entrance, it feels very anime centric, very Japan centric to his character, very type of feud of Japan style. Really loved it. But with LA Knight, he cannot go after Cody because right now they're both faces, and Cody for some reason is continue going on with the bloodline shit, even though he continues saying he's after he's done with it, even though he has KO stuff, and then what happens next depending on Royal Rumble on the next story. So LA Knight don't really got nothing to move on to next. So what he could do, I agree with Drop what he said earlier, just move him to Raw, get him on Netflix. He would do great with Netflix, having the open mic, having the opportunity to go after maybe Braun Breaker, the IC title, go for the next mid card title on a different show, or go after Gunther, where it'll be see beautiful matches
Yeah.
against Gunther or Braun Breaker would
They
be
worked
really
together
nice to see,
before too.
or inventing LA Knight versus LA Knight versus Sheamus. We'll have some cool matches like that as well.
Mhm.
I'm for him to go to Raw. Other than the US title with Shinsuke, I don't know where else he could go. I don't know. I know eventually he's gonna lose it to somebody. Maybe Carmelo was one of our options, but now that may be going to Raw. Maybe Andrade could be another option, but depending on how the story fits. So it's up in the air for me to say who will be the next one. And for Shinsuke, I just want to see continued good representation for his character and what he's deserved, because I know he had a great time in Japan, Noah, NXT. So I know he's very well loved. And Corey Graves also did say a few times during the commentary on Friday Night SmackDown that this is a side of Shinsuke we have not seen in the U.S. soil. So he has acknowledged that to the audience that we have not seen this side from Shinsuke in a while, very repetitively and well represented.
Mhm.
Mhm. That's another thing. I missed Corey Graves tonight.
Actually,
Like,
Yeah, how did it feel having Joe and Wade for tonight for the first time?
I mean,
go ahead, Trop. Yeah,
I don't,
you start this one.
I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but Corey
Got some
Graves is gonna be a
bad news
mainstay
for
on
you.
NXT now.
Oh, Corey. Yeah,
Well,
he's
I
on
don't think so
NXT.
because Corey Graves said that he's only there for one night
No,
only when he was there
no, I
on
saw a
NXT.
report come out today that they're moving him to SmackDown, and then it's gonna be Wade Bear. I mean, they're moving him to NXT, so it's gonna be
Oh,
Booker, Vic Joseph, and him, and then it's going to be Joe Desator and Wade Barrett on SmackDown from now on.
Yeah,
understood. I wasn't aware about the news report. I didn't see it today.
Yeah,
yeah. It came out like kind of late. Like I think maybe an hour or two before SmackDown. Um, I don't know. At least that's when I saw it. But yeah, it was. I I don't know why they're moving him. I mean, maybe they
yeah, I
might
don't
be
either.
phasing Booker T out because I mean Booker T, but I really like Vic Joseph. I think
Oh, Vic is amazing.
he can be the next play-by-play guy. Like he can be, the next Michael Cole, but possibly better.
Mm.
Like so maybe Corey's going down there to just kind of help transition maybe Booker back into, the pre-show panel or something.
Maybe.
So that could be something there, and maybe we can switch Joe and Wade because it was it was kind of dry tonight. I'm gonna be honest. It was kind of dry when it
Mm-hmm.
came to commentary. Like, and I mean I've said that before too with like especially Joe because like sometimes he can be he won't have some of the excitement in his voice that you kind of need sometimes to kind of keep your audience engaged, you know. But yeah, this was an off night for commentary, and I hope they have a better week next week. And Corey Graves, come back, dude. Especially if we need somebody to lead our Pledge of Allegiance for our women's U.S. champion, because like we need a leader to lead us in all that. And like he was having a good stick with that too. And now it's gone. Now it's gone. Now we're probably gonna have Wade Barrett doing it, which with his voice saying it, it's just like, oh, you're an older dude talking about this. You're like a dad saying this. Sit down, father. You're still married, sir. Uh, but with that transition, hey, let's talk about the women's U.S. title picture.
Yeah.
Fairly similar to the men's title picture because we're still continuing a feud from like 2 months ago through it.
Yeah, we are. Sadly.
See,
Is
Which
anybody
I
excited
mean,
for it?
no, I'm just
Look,
gonna.
the match was good. I'm just saying that was I looking forward for Chelsea Green rematch Michin? No, because it was
No.
no the feud wasn't built up. It was just more I feel like the usual drama and the way she won as well for Chelsea Green with a roll up, which was pretty something consistent from her character. I was hoping
Hmm.
for something better. How about you guys?
I mean, I'm just gonna come out and say it. I realize that this is just the beginning when it comes to Chelsea Green's run as the U.S. title,
mhm,
as the women's U.S. title champion. But this isn't the direction I really want to see things go. I understand this is in Chelsea Green's character to display herself in that way, and that's perfectly fine because that's one of the very reasons why she got over organically. But
yeah.
I'm just hoping this isn't something that we see on a regular basis when it comes to these title defenses where we see things play out like this.
Hmm.
Because for some strange reason, and this title doesn't even have a champion, but for some reason, I feel like that IC title on Monday might have a little bit more importance than the US title that we see on Friday, just based on what Dakota and Lyra could do with that title, especially if a Becky Lynch gets involved with that title to really push it beyond where it needs to be if there is potentially a program between Lyra and Becky at WrestleMania or something along the lines of that. Obviously, that's not set in stone, but that's definitely a step in the right direction if you really want people to give a shit about that title. And again, it makes sense why things happen the way it did on Monday, because you want to give some time for that title to actually mean
Yeah.
something. But it's like, it made sense why this match happened, because obviously you want to run it back. You want Michin to get another shot at the title. She did. Okay, where we go beyond this? Is it going to be a back and forth over again? Is there going to be something interesting that I personally thought of? Is I was thinking down the line, if they ever want to do it, I was thinking maybe down the line you could potentially do something like maybe Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. You could easily do something along the lines of that, because you got to think about it like this. It's like you would only think for so long, and I just have that feeling that that turn's going to happen eventually down the line. But you can only do that thing so long for Piper Niven and Chelsea Green, where Piper Niven's going to want a shot at that US title. And at least there's a story you could tell there, because they've been friends for so long, and you could build a very interesting program between the both of them, and you could see where that takes off. If I were to come out and put something out there, and if you want to do something that adds a little bit more weight to that US title for Chelsea Green, I mean, hey, that's an option there. You could easily do that. Going to what we talked about, bringing up BFAB, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if that's maybe our Saturday night's main event match that hasn't been announced yet, because it definitely seems like it's heading in that direction where BFAB is going to get a shot at that title. So that could definitely be something that we could potentially see with that. And we also have a certain Prodigy coming up to the main roster soon. So it's like, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest, depending on what show she goes on. I know Punk really probably wants her on Raw, but we don't know where she's going to be. But it's like, Sheik would be the perfect person to hold that title, add a lot of meaning to it, just like how she did with the NXT championship. And then she could have a run with that before she moves on to greater things. That could potentially be something that you could see down the line too. I'm just trying to throw things out that you potentially do. Chelsea Green and a Roxanne, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Those are some interesting things that you could potentially see come out of that.
Yeah, and I think once we crown the women's IC champion, we'll have at least some diversity between the two rosters. That's like, okay, we have the gag series over here, and we have, our more nitty gritty, like, good match series over here, which, is fine to start out with. And I'm pretty sure I went on record too, leading into the women's US title picture. I was like, okay, yes, I have Chelsea Green win, but don't have her hold on for it too long, because then, it starts kind of the shtick starts getting a little old and all that. So, like, I feel like maybe, I don't know if this is too far down the road, but I'd also have to look and see when this was, but maybe around Elimination Chamber time, and then have her drop it. Like,
you
I'm
could
not
do
saying,
that.
at the PLE, but like around that time will be like a good time to be like, okay, let's move on with the US title picture, and I feel like the IC title picture will be, I don't want to say hot potatoed, but that's going to be more of, at least at first, more of a prize that a lot of them are going to win or want to win.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But yeah, I mean, again, I think I'm along the lines of you guys. I thought this match was fine. I did like the finish of it, because like they did show that Chelsea Green did hold on to the tights to cheat to win. So it's like, okay, we're still sticking within character, nice reversal, but like, okay, add the little touch to be cheating and all that, great, awesome, or excuse me, no, sorry, she didn't cheat at all. She is our wonderful US champion, and she's our longest reigning women's US champion, and she will continue to have her reign for the longest time, because hey, She is America. She is the American spirit. Oh my gosh. But any other things we want to highlight or complain about it? Oh, because this is an episode of complaining. No,
Wow.
anything else we want
For the
to add
US
for the
for
women's
the
U.S. title?
for the
Yeah.
women's US title, no, none at the moment that could ring
Yeah.
a bell. Other than like, hey, Chelsea Green, if you can continue acting like this in your line of work when it comes to your character, I'm gonna be very disappointed. But third overall to see what's to come.
Yeah, I pretty much
Oh
just
yes.
laid out everything.
Perfect. Well, hey, we have some tag team title action going on because like all of our tag teams in their division, they are gunning for DIY. And who attacked the Street Profits? We got to figure out who that is. And I like how we're kind of getting a mini tournament out of this. And
Yeah.
even commentary, try to push it as so like, oh, yeah, it's not an official tournament, but these teams are basically in a tournament to find out who the next number one contender is. And so this whole thing gets set up because earlier, apparently earlier today, you had Legato, you had Pretty Deadly, you had Motor City Machine Guns all bitching and moaning to Nick Aldis, like, oh, I didn't attack Street Profits, it was them. No, they did. No, we didn't. Blah, blah, blah. All that stuff. And then comes A Town Down Under trying to, be cocky assholes as they are. And so Nick Aldis, being the good GM he is just like, all right, you know what? Here's a few matches for you guys. Go out there and has a fight. So we get Los Garza facing off against Pretty Deadly first, which the match was fine. It was good. Uh, Led to Electra Lopez getting involved, kind of distracting the ref with Santos taking his revenge on Pretty Deadly. And I gotta say, I love Los Garza's finisher. It looks really cool. It looks really brutal, and I mean they're able to pick up the win. If I hope they continue the momentum, because like I know we had mentioned earlier about you can look good in defeat. Look at Tiffany Stratton against Becky Lynch that we were talking about. Los Garza can do just that by they could win against Motor City Machine Guns next week. They could, or they could lose. Either way, they're going to be continue to look good and continue to build their stock even through defeat. And that's all you can ask for when you have matches like this. But let me hear from you guys. What did you guys think of this match and I guess where these two teams are going forward? Because like there's other stuff going on with Pretty Deadly as well that kind of want to touch on as well.
So when it comes to, like, the match itself, I guess the one thing that I really want to put out there is I like how Las Garza are actually getting some time to show what they're capable of, because
Hmm.
back then they didn't really get as much time to really showcase like how great they are in the ring and how they could always put on these pretty good matches whenever they're up against whoever within the ring itself. So I guess that's one thing I could say about these 3 hour shows, is that
Hmm.
it actually is giving the tag division some time to shine, because I noticed that these two tag matches that we got tonight actually did get some time. It wasn't just like a 5 minute thing and then wrapped it up. Like, they actually did get some time in the ring and actually show what they're capable of. And I thought that was
Yeah.
really cool. And like you said, I love their finisher too. It looks really cool. I love the whole execution of it. Pretty Deadly getting involved in there as well is nice. I mean, it's just a positive just to show that the tag division is getting some spotlight, which has been a main complaint that we had prior because they didn't really do anything. But it seems like
Hmm.
ever since we got new champions of Border City Machine Guns, and then it passed on DIY after that heel turn, it definitely feels like things are heading in the right direction for SmackDown. I am assuming once they get the green flag for Raw, the exact same thing is going to happen there. Because I remember reading something about the the War Raiders pretty much replicating what's going on SmackDown as well, which is
Hmm.
going to be really nice to see on Netflix. Don't have to worry about any time restraints or anything. You could actually go out there and cook a good match. So that's something I really like. And just
Yeah.
getting into like the whole pretty deadly talk with DIY that I'll bring up, and I'll throw it to you. I thought that was really interesting with the sort of direction that they're going down. Like I feel like it is DIY. They're just playing a whole thing where it's like,
Oh yeah.
oh, like the whole thing of public you shouldn't trust them, whatever it is. I mean, it makes the most sense that they attacked themselves, that they attacked the street profits to get this match they're in, just because of all the hostility that was going on prior. I don't really see it being one of those things. The street profits pretended to be hurt. That does not make any sense at all in the slightest. Why would you
Nope.
Why would you pretend to be hurt to get yourself taken out of a title match? It doesn't make any sense in the slightest. But yeah, that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It almost makes me feel like Pretty Deadly could take the titles because especially how DIY was kind of especially how DIY
How would you
was kind
feel?
of talking down on them.
How would you feel if they do take it?
I'd be fine with it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fine with it as long as we get what we got within these tag matches. Because like I said earlier, the whole Chelsea Green thing, I understand it's in the character to act this way, but I still want them to do what Motor City Machine Guns and DIY did to help rebuild that tag division. I want them to continue that trend while still being who they are. I still want them to go out there and give us some good tag team wrestling that we're dying to see for ages with it.
Yeah. Yeah, especially on SmackDown. Like
Yeah.
SmackDown's tag division right now, they are just dog walking the Raw division because it's like the only teams I can think of on Raw right now are, well, I guess the Creeds now are staying on Raw for a bit. You know, you got them, you got American Alpha, LWO. Maybe we could start building them like we're doing Los Garza. That'd be great. That'd be awesome.
Great.
Joaquin Wilde and whatever the other one's named. Why is Joaquin Wilde like the only one I can remember out of the other two? It's like it's him, and then there's another dude, and I'm just like, what's the other dude's name? I remember him because of the damn 2K games, and he's always just like, oh, I want to fight you in career mode. It's like, go away, dude. I don't want to fight you anymore. I keep beating you up. Stop it. Hopefully we can build LWO up, but like that's the main thing is we need to build these tag teams back up.
Yeah.
It really just depends on how we're gonna move into with the tag team division. Pretty Deadly, and they did something. I was very shocked about this segment because this is a great transition. What I'm about to say, 8-10 Down Under even being involved in this because they even introduced themselves when they was having a predicament of Los Garza, Pretty Deadly, and Machine Gun, Motor City Machine Gun. They included themselves because they said, "Hey, it's crazy how they're doing this without the champions that were before." And I'm like, but nobody even remember yet. I even forgot about that y'all were champions at WrestleMania. I even forgot about it. So it's like, my guy, why do y'all bring in a conversation that nobody gives a fuck about? But yeah, included yourself, even though they did a great match. I would admit they did a great match with Motor City Machine Gun. They did.
Yeah, I think between the two tag matches, like at least in like the tag division and all that, I think I preferred the Motor City Machine Guns versus 8-Town Down Under.
Me too. I agree.
I think that was a better match. And I don't mean to say that to take away from like Los Garza and Pretty Deadly because that one was a good match too. It's just I don't know, there was something a little bit better than that other between the two and all that. I can't really like pinpoint what it is. I guess it's just what I felt with it while watching.
Very ruthless. It was very aggressive. You also wrote down here in the notes. It was fast-paced action throughout. Skull and Bones.
Yeah.
It was literally like they was going very aggressively, fought against each other, and that was an interesting type of dynamic. Even a few times, Grayson Waller was taking a lot of bumps, which I was very impressed of how well he's making it look so well. against Motor City Machine Gun, and that's very respectful towards two people that's been in the industry for i- WWE for a bit longer than they have, and it shows that like, hey, good match, good fast pace, and they had good chemistry as well.
Yeah. But do we have anything else to add with it? Because again, like, out of the two teams winning, next week we're getting Los Garza versus Motor City Machine Gun, which that could hit if they give them time,
Yes, it could.
because again, like Los Garza, they are a good team, and I also like to like technically this was heel on heel action, but it was so good because like Los Garza and I guess maybe Legato in a way right now they might be more face leaning at the moment, when it comes to like their allegiances or whatever, but. This was still heel versus heel, which sometimes that can work, sometimes it doesn't, and I thought it worked pretty well here.
Yeah.
I'm really just
But
curious to
yeah,
see where it's going to lead up to because we haven't had a tag team match on the PLE either. So hopefully we lead that
yeah,
up to. If we're going to set something of maybe Saturday Night Main Event, a tag team match would be nice there. Hopefully it shows them like in the front image of like, hey, tag team is back on the page of WWE. Is back in the forefront. Let's see what they could do. By giving them time. Hopefully we
hmm
could also see. We could also see something like that. Down the line.
hopefully, one can only hope. But you know what? At the end of the day, after all is said and done, that was basically SmackDown. Like I mean, we kind of went on a 45-minute tangent earlier about, or half an hour, I think, if I look at timestamps right and it can actually do math. We went on a bit of a half an hour tangent about SmackDown, so it sounds like the team overall kind of thought, the night was kind of slow, a bit boring at times, but there were a couple highlights to kind of talk about. I think overall, I think we're all just we're ready for things to kind of amp up because, especially with the Royal Rumble coming around, that is the start to the road to WrestleMania, and I feel like a lot of us are just kind of anticipating the Royal Rumble
Pretty much.
because already it's starting to look like, yeah, it's looking like a
Think
big just the Rumble itself is looking to be huge this year.
And it's so sad knowing that like this is SmackDown or Raw, but knowing that Royal Rumble is around the corner. But then it's so sad that the next Royal Rumble, everyone's gonna be dreading for it to come next year.
yeah.
So like, can we just skip that one now?
No CM
Like,
Punk
yeah,
next
you're
year.
having it. Like,
CM Punk's not gonna be
why?
in that Rumble next.
Yeah.
He doesn't do
I'm not
Saudi
looking
shows.
forward to it, and that hurts because now by next year, most 100%, Weebs of the Ring will be covering that Royal Rumble next year, and I'm not looking forward to it. I'm not already a
Um,
year in advance. I'm
well,
not
well,
I'm not looking forward to next year, 2026 Royal
I'll say
Rumble.
this. I am looking forward to it just because it's the Rumble. It's just where it's at that
Yeah.
sucks.
Oh, of course, same. Yeah,
That's the
agree.
thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's where I'm pointing at is like the
Yeah.
location because the woman in wrestling,
Look at me sweating.
30 of
Oh my
them
god.
in bodysuits, like, and also maybe for an
Like,
hour long, if any Iron Survivor or any of them, good luck to them. Like, that is just, we have, if anybody haven't heard the woman talk about the experience versing in
oh dude.
Saudi and how it's, go check out the interviews. They express it. They Liv Morgan expressing her red bodysuit, how she had to peel it off her
Drenched.
skin, drenched like what I can say in sweat and everything. So go, please, as much as these wrestlers, entertainers, give us entertainment,
Yeah.
we gotta respect their livelihood, and for them to go
Yeah.
through this just because of the amount of money that mostly Saudis say, yo, WWE, we want a
Mhm.
big forwarder. Here's this much
Yeah.
money. It is what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. I mean, it's like we understand the thought behind it, but it's like the Royal Rumble is meant to be a big moment. Like that's pretty much like the next level to really establish yourself as like a main eventer in the company when it comes to the men and
Mhm.
the women. Obviously, the men are probably going to be obviously a little bit more free there. And we're not trying to start anything here, but it's just the way that the culture is different from us. If we saw Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, Bianca, Becky, etc., so on, win a Rumble like we saw. Well, I guess I'm starting to throw away my potential spoiler for this year's, but it's like you get those monstrous pops, and that's a big moment for the ladies.
Yeah.
Once they win the Rumble, are we going to get the same reaction or whatever? I would hope so. Show a little, show some respect there. And because it's a big moment there, and it's something that's gonna propel themselves to the next level, and I want to be there at that moment when it happens. But we're gonna wait and see how things play out, because we are still at the beginning of the year, so you never know, things turn around, because it is the world
Yeah.
of professional wrestling. We never thought CM Punk was going to back to the WWE. Look what happened. So you never know what happens beyond this point.
Amen to
Man,
that.
Punk coming back has just made me much more optimistic just on life in general,
Yeah.
because it's just like, you know what, the fact that Punk went back to WWE after everything that happened,
That was just
man,
something.
that means anything's possible.
Yeah.
You too can get that wonderful car you want. You too can learn how to knit baskets underwater, and you too can find where to find us on all social media platforms. But unfortunately, I don't, because I'm an idiot. I'm just some dummy on the internet spouting nonsense. But I think Vash, you know exactly, because we're hitting our outro, we're hitting the end of the night and all that, and these lovely people, they've sat with us for about almost 2 hours and 10 minutes. They deserve to know where they can talk with us more. That's just outside of this episode.
Well, chat, look, if you are not able to see the screen, if you guys, put us in audio feed, or if you guys, put us to the side while you guys are cooking or do whatever it may be, go look at the screen. Look at the lower third. You know how Walker said above, on the left, on the right, where me and Drop are? Go check in the bottom of the screen where it says AniMA W3 Studio, the handles of Legendary Vash, the handles of Drop This Box, the handles of Walker's MW, and the hashtag Always the Ring is also a handle as well on TikTok, IG, Blue Sky. I don't know where else, but go check out those handles and where you'll be able to find us. We also have a Discord page down below, all the description and the links of where to find us and the time codes of each our segment / chapters. So if you want to see more about us, go check that information out there, because we are cooking things up for the beginning of the year. New show popping up, new site popping up, writers being there. Hey, things are cooking up. So if you want to stay up to date, go check out Discord and continue subscribing and hitting that bell notification if you want more notifications of when we're live or video content is out there.
Yes, check it all out, especially some of the short form content we've got planned coming out, and hopefully TikTok doesn't get banned, because
Hopefully
I
not.
can't.
Oh, he's getting banned in 10 days.
Don't worry, there's gonna be a last minute cash in to keep it in.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
You got your money in the bank briefcase back there.
Yeah. See, exactly. TikTok, you can borrow it. All right, because hey, you won't copyright strike us, right? Not like good old Johnny YouTube does. But all right, that's about it. That's the end of the show. So thank you once again for taking time out of your day to listen to the Weebs of the Ring podcast. If you enjoyed what we had to say, why not do exactly, that's right, exactamundo, exactly what Vash had to say, telling you, everybody, where you can find all of our social media platforms and all that stuff. And also be sure to use the hashtag Weebs of the Ring so you can talk with us before, during, or after any of these events. Feedback is also appreciated, as we are nothing without you guys tuning in. Thank you once again to our wonderful, awesome, fantabulous production team for all the hard work that we put in throughout the week. And just remember, as always, people, no stunt grannies were harmed in the recording of this podcast. Have a good night, everybody. Rest easy and stay safe out there.
See you guys on Monday.
And Netflix and chill.